So is the presentation visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So basically in today's session, we are going to discuss the degree of freedom of a planar mechanism. So if you remember in the last session, what we discussed? In the last session, we discussed first of all, what is a kinematic pair, right? Then we saw that there are different types of kinematic pair. Then we saw that each kinematic pair, it allows certain degrees of freedom and it arrests certain degrees of freedom, right? So if let's say if you talk of a revolute pair or a turning pair, then it will allow 1 degree of freedom, one rotational degree of freedom, and it will arrest the remaining 2 degrees of freedom, right? In a similar way, if you talk of prismatic pair, so it will allow one sliding degree of freedom, right? And it will arrest the other 2 degrees of freedom. That is one sliding and one rotational will be arrested, right? So after that, we saw that, okay, what is a kinematic chain, right? So we saw that a kinematic chain is nothing. It is a series of links that are going to be connected by kinematic pairs, right? Then we saw that if we fix one of the links of a kinematic chain, then it will be called a mechanism, right? Then we discussed something about degree of freedom of a mechanism, right? So let us start, let us have a brief recapitulation of all those things once again, right? So if you remember in the last session, I said, let's say that n is number of links in a mechanism, right? And j is equal to number of simple pairs. So simple pairs, that means kinematic pairs that allow only 1 degree of freedom, right? So just remember the kinematic pairs that have 1 degree of freedom, right? So usually this simple pair is either a revolute pair or you can say a prismatic or sliding pair, right? So in short, we can denote this with this notation RP, right? Then H is equal to number of higher pairs. So these were the notations which I specified in the previous session also. So now let us assume that, and also one more important thing, that whatever we are discussing, this is in context to a planar mechanism, right? So that is the mechanism, the points on the links of a mechanism, they are all moving in either a single plane or they are going to move in parallel planes, right? So now let us say if I have a link AB, right, lying in a, let's say, plane XY. So how many degrees of freedom this link AB will have? First of all, tell me this thing. So let's say our link AB, it is lying in XY plane, right? So how many degrees of freedom this link AB it is going to
Three.
have? How much?
Three.
Right, correct. So 3. So see how 3 degrees of freedom. So this link AB, it can translate along X direction, right? Or then it can translate along Y direction. And at the same time, to define the rotation of this link AB around, let's say, Z axis, right? You can specify one more coordinate, that is theta. So one will be delta X variable, another will be delta Y variable, and another variable will be theta. So there are 3 pair variables. So this link AB is going to have 3 degrees of freedom. But now let us talk of mechanism. So let's say in a mechanism, right? We know that one link is fixed. In a mechanism, one link is fixed. Correct? So degree of freedoms corresponding to that link will be arrested, correct? So the degrees of freedom corresponding to that link, they are going to reduce to 0 finally. So we have only 3 n minus 1 degrees of freedom, right? So is this clear to all of you, right? So there are n links in a mechanism, but we know in a mechanism one link is fixed. So each link, it is having 3 degrees of freedom. So only n minus 1 links are active now, right? Then the degree of freedom of the mechanism will be 3 n minus 1, right? So right now I am assuming that, let's say, in a mechanism this much links are there, A, B, C, D, right? So let's say you can call EF, but right now I am just assuming that still they are not connected by any kinematic pair. They are free to move, right? Now let us move forward further. So here now I am going to connect all these links by kinematic pairs. So if the links are connected by simple kinematic pairs, right? So we know that if, let's say, two links are there, one is AB, another is CD. Now I connected, let's say I connected these two links, right, through a kinematic pair here, right? So just tell me how many degrees of freedom is going to be arrested if these two are connected by, let's say, a simple revolute pair or a prismatic pair. So right now in this case, let's say they are connected by a revolute pair. So how many degrees of freedom are allowed and how many degrees of freedom are arrested in this case? Just tell me.
In
Sir,
this case,
two
AB is
will
fixed.
be
Two
arrested.
will be, sir, two are allowed
Very
and
good. So
one is missing.
only 1 degree of freedom will be allowed. The rotational degree of freedom. That means the link AB, it will be able to rotate relative to this link CD, right? So only 1 degree of freedom is allowed and 2 degrees of freedom are arrested. In a similar way, let us say if you have somewhere prismatic pair. So let's talk of a slider crank mechanism, right? Right. So here, let's say this is your link 3, this is your link 4, right? So if you see, observe here that between link and 1 and link 4, only translatory motion is allowed, right? So again, if you talk of a prismatic pair also, then also only 1 degree of freedom is allowed and 2 degrees of freedom are arrested, correct? So here, just tell me now what will be the degree of freedom of the mechanism if all these links, they are going to be connected by kinematic pairs. So 3n minus 1. So the what should be the next step? So shall I subtract here anything or shall I add here anything? Just tell me. So we
Sir,
know
you
that.
should add arrested degree of freedom.
So no.
Sir,
So
minus
arrested.
2n.
Yeah.
Minus 2n.
Minus 2.
2n.
No. Think again. See.
Minus
So
2J.
yeah, correct. So see, one kinematic pair, right? It is arresting 2 degrees of freedom. So how many number of kinematic pairs are there? J number of kinematic pairs we have assumed, right? So that means one kinematic pair, it is going to arrest how many? 2 degrees of freedom. So J kinematic pairs, they are going to arrest 2J degrees of freedom. So now the degree of freedom of the mechanism will be 3n minus 1 minus 2J, right? So 2 degrees of freedom. So let me write it down here. Arrested per kinematic pair, right? And just remember this thing. This thing is very important. This kinematic pair, the J notation, it denotes the kinematic pair that allow only 1 degree of freedom. So, or you can in very simple words say, it is going to denote number of simple pairs, simple kinematic pairs, right? So now let us move ahead and let us refine this equation further. Now, if higher pair is considered in the mechanism, right? So usually a higher pair usually a higher pair, it allows 2 degrees of freedom. So usually a higher pair, if you observe a higher pair, so it allows 2 degrees of freedom and arrests only 1 degree of freedom, right? So if in a mechanism anywhere higher pair is present, right? So that means 1 degree of freedom per higher pair will be arrested. So how many higher pairs are there? There are h number of higher pairs. So just tell me here now how this equation is going to be modified. So it will be 3n minus 1 minus 2j. Then shall I
Minus
add or
h.
subtract anything here?
Minus h, sir.
Minus h. Very simple. So now this criteria is generally called as Kachbeck criterion. So very important thing. You have to remember this formula, this equation, right? Because many a times like people will ask you simply what is Kachbeck criterion, right? So then you have to mention this equation, which is simply 3n minus 1 minus 2j minus h. And Kachbeck criteria, what is the purpose? It is used to calculate the degrees of freedom of a mechanism, correct? So now let us move forward. Now just tell me, I'm sorry. So now we are going to discuss one more criteria. This is also very important, right? So this is also very important because this is very important, especially it is asked in IAS and GATE examination, right? So what is a Grubler criterion? So in Grubler criterion, we do nothing. In Grubler criterion, we simply assume that, let's say, the degree of freedom. So let me denote this with F. Let's say the degree of freedom of any mechanism F is equal to 1, right? So if you simply put this F equal to 1 here, right? So this is 1, 3n minus 1 minus 2j. So I am assuming right now that there is no higher pair in the mechanism. There are only simple or simple revolute or prismatic pairs present in the mechanism. So now this equation finally reduces to 2j minus 3n plus 4 equal to 0. So this formula you have to remember, right? So if any mechanism, it is going to satisfy this equation, right? Or you can say Grubler's criteria, then generally we call that mechanism as a constrained mechanism. So many times in GATE or in Indian Engineering Services examination, it is directly asked, right? So you will be provided with, let's say, the number of links and number of revolute pairs, and you will be asked that whether this mechanism is constrained or not. So you have to simply put this formula 2j minus 3n plus 4 is equal to 0, right? So you have to check balance left hand and right hand side, and if this equation is satisfied, then you will say that okay, this mechanism is satisfying the Grubler's criteria and it is a constrained mechanism. In other ways, you can simply calculate the degree of freedom of that mechanism, and if the degree of freedom of that mechanism is 1, you can say that this is a constrained mechanism, right? So now what is a constrained mechanism? So mathematically we understood, fine, mathematically we understood that if the degree of freedom of a mechanism it is equal to 1, right, then it will be called as a constrained mechanism. But now let us try to understand it physically. Okay. So can anyone give me some idea, like what is a constrained mechanism? So it's fine that the degree of freedom is equal to 1. So why are we calling it as a constraint? So can anyone like give some thought over this? Whatever is coming to your mind, just tell me.
Limitations in access, it can move, so it's constrained kind of.
Right, right. So this is correct. Any other thing? So see that what do you mean by if the degree of freedom of that mechanism is 1? So what does it means? So what is the physical meaning of this? That okay, degree of freedom of this mechanism is 1. So we know that what is the definition of degree of freedom? So can anyone just remember what is the definition of degree of freedom?
Coordinates needed to specify
Right.
the
So
definition.
if it is equal to 1, so what does it mean?
It can move in one coordinate.
Right. So that means only one coordinate is sufficient to describe the motion of links in the entire mechanism, right? So only one coordinate is sufficient. So what does it mean? So let's say if you have a 4-bar mechanism. So let's say if you have a 4-bar mechanism. So a 4-bar mechanism is nothing. A 4-bar mechanism, it consists of 4 links connected by kinematic pairs. So let us take an example. So if let's say the degree of freedom of this mechanism is 1. So this indicates that only one coordinate is sufficient to describe the motion of links in this entire mechanism. So let's say if I describe the motion of this one, this link, if I consider this link as input, right? And if I use theta coordinate to describe the motion of this link, this input link, so now the motion of other links. So let's say the motion of this link, it is defined by phi. Let's say it is defined by psi, something like that. So phi, psi, everything, it can be expressed in terms of theta, right? So this is very easy. This phi, psi, right? That means the motion of this link, the motion of this link, it will be dependent upon theta. And only the motion of, you need to specify only the motion of this input link, right? So this is the physical interpretation of a degree of freedom, right? That in this case, let me write down again. In this case, one input, right? It will give a unique output, unique and distinct output, right? So that means, let's say if this theta is 30 degree, so this psi will be, let's say, something 60 degree. If this theta is 45 degree, so this psi will be equal to, let's say, something 75 degree. So that means there is going to exist a unique input output relationship in this mechanism, right? So when you move this through 30 degree, the output will always be 60 degree, right? It will be distinct value. And if you change this rotation from 30 to, let's say, 45, again the output will be something different. So it cannot happen that if theta is 30 and theta is 45, and then also the output, let's say, it is 60 degree only. So this will never happen. So every time you change the motion of this input link, right, you will get a unique output, unique and distinct output, right? So this is the physical interpretation of degree of freedom. Now let me ask that, let's say if the degree of freedom of any mechanism is 2, then what how are you going to interpret this? So let me say, like, if the degree of freedom of any mechanism is 2, right? So what does it indicate?
Sir, motion in a plane.
So how are you going to interpret this? So you have to interpret this in a similar way as I did for this one, where the degree of freedom of the mechanism was equal to 1. So you need to interpret this in a similar way. So just can you give me some idea? Let's say, like, if I'm telling the degree of freedom of a mechanism is 2, then how are you going to interpret it physically?
So at two different input, we can get the same output.
Okay, so to define input, you can get the same output. Okay, fine. Any other thing? See, your first answer should always be that if it is 2, that means you need 2 coordinates to specify the motion of links in the mechanism, right? So in other words, you can say that if you need to obtain the motion of the output link, then you need to, let's say, specify the motion of at least 2 links which are acting as inputs, right? So now in this case, you can simply say that if degree of freedom is then at least, or simply, 2 links are acting as inputs, right? Or you can simply say, or 2 coordinates are needed to specify the motion of all the links in a mechanism. So this is very easy, very much clear. That means, let's say if your mechanism is composed of a number of links, right? And if the degree of freedom of that mechanism is 2, right? So let's say if these two are your input links, link 1 and link 2, right? Then at least you need to specify the coordinate for this link 1 also, as well as this link 2 also, to specify the motion of all these links, right? 3, 4, 5 in the mechanism. So that means you need one coordinate, let's say theta for this, another coordinate psi for this, right? So this is very easy. This is how you are going to interpret, let's say, this definition of degree of freedom. Now, very important thing, this is also very important. This is also asked in most of the competitive examinations. So what is the situation if f is going to be equal to 0? So if f is equal to 0, then what does this physically indicate? So just tell me, if the degree of freedom is 0, okay, so how are you going to interpret this physically? Any guess?
The mechanism
Coordinates
is
are
All
not
stationary.
links are
required to
independent.
describe the mechanism.
So the mechanism itself would be acting as a link.
Can you repeat again?
Sir, would the mechanism itself be acting as a link?
Okay, fine, very good. So the mechanism itself that is going to act as a link, that is also like fine. Anything else?
There is
It is a
zero.
rigid body.
See, so if the degree of freedom of any mechanism is 0, so that means simply indicates the relative motion of links is absent, right? So this is very obvious. So if the degree of freedom of any mechanism is 0, so that mechanism is referred to as, can anyone just tell me what can I call this mechanism? We have discussed this thing in the previous session.
The redundant
Yes, redundant. Another
redundant
after redundant.
kinematic chain. The redundant kinematic chain.
Redundant kinematic, and after that, like one more terminology I used, if you
The
remember
chain.
in the last session. So
Chain.
if you remember, I draw this diagram, correct? Then I said, let us fix this link.
A structure.
Very good. So in this case, this will be called as a structure, right? So very important. So if anybody asks you what is a structure, you can simply define the structure is a mechanism, or simply you can say it is a kinematic chain where the degree of freedom is going to be 0, right? So fine. Now let us refine this further. So this equation is fine. So see, I am not just going to take you to some, let's say like advanced levels. So, but basically, most of the time this equation is sufficient for all of you. But let us discuss few exceptions, right? Or that is also somewhere important to discuss, right? So now let us talk of something which is called as redundant degree of freedom. Okay, so for a minute, let me save it. Otherwise, sometime it is lost. Okay, so now let's talk of this redundant degrees of freedom. What is this? See, so redundant degrees of freedom, sometimes it happens that one or more links in a mechanism, right, move but do not impart any motion to the remaining links, correct? So sometimes it happens in a mechanism. See, the point that a very important point that whenever we define a mechanism, there has to be some relative motion between the links, right? So let's say in a simple words, let's say if I disturb this link 1, if I rotate this link 1, the motion should be transferred to link 2, some motion will be transferred to link 3, then in turn the link 3 in turn it will transfer the motion to link 4, and this is going to be continued, right? But sometimes it happens that there exists certain links in a mechanism where you transfer your motion. So let's say, like if I transfer some motion to this link 1, but this link 1, it is not giving any motion to the link which is in connection with it, right? So in that cases, we call such degrees of freedom as redundant degrees of freedom, right? So let me take one example to make you this thing understand. So the best example of a redundant degree of freedom is the cam and follower arrangement. So you will just try to understand. So we all know that a cam and follower, such kind of arrangements are used in IC engine valves, right? So generally, we all know that here, this cam, this is going to act as input link, and this is called as follower, right? So this is your generally cam, and this is your follower. Right. So let me name this link. So this is 1. So this is link 2. This is link 3. And then this is link 4. Right. So very important thing. Remember that wherever you get this fixed link, right? So you will always name this fixed link as 1, independent of the location where it is lying. So if here it is lying here, you will name it as 1. If it is lying here, you will name it as a 1. So you have to just remember that this link is fixed. So it will be always named as 1. So now, after, just watch this all this arrangement very carefully and just tell me, let us say I transferred some motion to this input link, right? So now this started rotating. Now it rotated the follower also, right? So now this sorry, it rotated this link 3. So this link 3 is generally one roller, right? So now when I turn this link 2, right? So this is a circular cam. Now this was in connection with this roller. So this roller also started rotating around its own axis. Now this motion of this cam, it was transferred ultimately to this follower through this roller. So this follower, it will just oscillate, right? So just tell me here, so can you spot any link here, the motion of which it is not going to affect the motion of any other link? So let's say, in very simple words, let's say if I go in the reverse way, so let's say if I oscillate this rocker, right? So is this input link, it is going to turn? So is the question clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So just tell me, so if let's say like I go in the reverse way, I say let's oscillate this follower, so is this input link, is it going to turn or rotate around its own axis?
No, no.
Just think again. I'm
So
sorry,
it will rotate.
around this hinge point. I'm sorry. Right? See, very important thing. See, this cam is an offset cam. Just remember, I am very sorry. So it is not going to turn around its own axis. Sorry. So it will be going to rotate around this hinge point 1, right? Then only it is going to cause the oscillatory motion of this follower. If it rotates around its own axis, then this is not going to cause the oscillatory motion of this follower. So for this, it needs to be an offset cam. So that means the hinge point is here. It is going to rotate around this point, right? So see, when you impart motion to this cam, right, definitely the motion will be transferred to the follower. In a similar way, when you oscillate this follower, definitely it will cause this input link to rotate around this hinge point, right? So because simply the force, so you can say about the pressure, it will be transmitted to this, right? So now coming to this one, this roller. So let's say now if I'm giving motion to this roller, if I am imparting motion to this roller, so will the motion be transferred either to link 4 or link 2 in this case? Any idea? So
No,
now
sir.
I am giving the motion to link, sorry, I am giving the motion to link to this link 3 or roller. So this roller, it is now turning around its own axis, right? Just remember this thing. This roller, it is going to turn around its own axis. Right? So here, if you carefully observe, right, this roller can rotate about its own axis, right, without transferring any motion to links 2 and 4. So it is possible in this case that this roller 3, it is going to turn around its own axis, right? So you have to simply rotate this axis, roller around its own axis, and you will observe that no motion will be transferred to either link 2 or link 4. So what is happening? It is just turning around its own axis, right? So no motion it is going to be transferred to either link 2 and 4. So such a mechanism is called a, it is such a such a connection, it is going to give you a redundant degree of freedom. So let me again make this thing more clear. So let us start to calculate the degree of freedom of this entire mechanism, right? So just tell me how many number of links are there in this case?
4.
4. Then how many number of revolute pairs? So see, one revolute pair will be here, correct? 1, right? Then another revolute pair will be here, 2. Then another revolute pair will be here, right? So J will be simply equal to 3. Now, what is the number of higher pair? So higher pair means the two connections, they are going to have a what, point or line contact. So just tell me, can you see any higher pair in this mechanism? Anywhere?
1, sir.
So here
2
a higher
and 3.
pair is, right? So this is your higher pair, correct? So the higher pair is going to be equal to 1. So now if you calculate the degree of freedom of this mechanism, so 3, 4 minus 1 minus 2, J minus 1, right? So this is simply 9 minus 6. So it is going to be equal to 2. So if you observe here, the degree of freedom, which I calculated from the previous Kachbeck criteria, it is equal to 2, right? So, but we all know that, that if we provide, let's say, the motion to this input loop, right? So the output, that is going to move in a unique and distinct way. This is very clear, right? In a cam and follower arrangement. So basically, the degree of freedom of this mechanism, it should be equal to 1, because we all know that if the cam it is going to turn around this point, right? So it will transfer a definite and a unique motion to this follower. So the degree of freedom of this mechanism will always be equal to 1, right? But here when we applied this criteria, right, the Kachbeck criteria, so the degree of freedom, it came out to be equal to 2. So that means there must be some modification in the existing formula, right? So now the formula will be simply modified. In this case, now we will call this as effective degrees of freedom. Very important. Effective or actual degrees of freedom, you can say. So the effective degrees of freedom, this formula is going to be modified 3n minus 1 minus 2j, right, minus h. And let me say that fr, let fr is equal to redundant degrees of freedom in the mechanism. So just tell me, shall I add fr here or shall I subtract fr here?
Subtract.
So very obvious. Now you need to subtract fr here, right? So now if in the previous mechanism we apply this formula, so fr is equal to 1. So already the degree of freedom f we calculated as 2. So it will be simply fe is equal to, right? It is equal to 2 minus 1 is equal to 1. Right? So now the effective degree of freedom for this mechanism is actually equal to 1. And why this is so? Because this mechanism contains a link, the motion of which it is not going to affect the motion of other links. Or you can simply say that this mechanism contains a redundant degree of freedom, right? So that means this roller, it is having some motion, it is rotating around its own axis, but that is meaningless because it is not going to affect in the motion of any other links in the mechanism. Correct? So now let us again move forward. Now, in a similar way, let us talk about redundant links, right? So this is also very important, right? So just remember all these things which I am going to discuss here, right? So these are the exceptions, or you can say the exceptions, right? So the modifications basically for the Kachbeck criteria. So now again, let us talk about this redundant links. So in this case, if or more links, one or more links in a mechanism, right? If one or more links in a mechanism do not put any extra constraint, do not put any extra constraint, then such a mechanism, such a link is called as redundant link, right? So let us try to understand this. So the best example for this is basically the parallelogram type linkage. Very important, parallelogram type linkage, right? So now let us try to understand this. Let me draw a mechanism first. So this is your fixed link 1, then this is your link 2, right? And this is your link 3, this is your link 4. This entire link is your link 4. Now the link 2 and the link 4, in the middle they are connected by again one more link, which is link 5, right? So now just try to understand here. Let me name this as AB. Let me name this as AB. Okay, so now here your input link, let us say this input link is 2, the output link is 4. And this link AB and CD, they are parallel. So that's why we sometimes refer to such type of linkages as parallelogram type linkages, right? So you have to be very careful when you are going to analyze the degree of freedom of any such mechanism in which two links are parallel, right? So now just tell me, if let's say I remove this link 3, correct? If I remove this link 3, right, and if I give motion to this link 2, so will the motion of this output link, it is going to be affected in any way?
No, sir.
No.
No. In a similar way, let us say if I remove this link 5, right, so will the motion of this output link, it is going to be affected in any way?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
No. So here either you can remove this link 3 or you can remove this link 5, right? And the motion of other links, that is link 2, 4, it is not going to be affected in any way, right? So here you can call this link 3 or either link 5 as a redundant link. Redundant means simply extra, right? So now here, let me write down. So if we remove any of the links 3 or 5, right, the motion of other links will remain unaffected, right? So now such links, you can say, so either you can say link 3 is a redundant link or you can say link 5 is a redundant link. So such links are called as redundant links, right? Now, if you observe here, so again, you can run the whole analysis in a similar way. That is, n is equal to 5, right? Then count the number of revolute pairs and all these things, right? But let me not go into that thing. You can do it now. You manage it yourself, right? So let me modify the degree of freedom. So let's see if NR is number of redundant links, right? So in that case, then Fe. Just tell me how this equation is going to be modified now. Minus 2j minus h minus fr. Right? So just tell me here how this equation is going to be modified. So I said if nr is number of redundant links. So I said if you remove either link 3 or link 5, the motion of other links that is going to be unchanged, right? So now just tell me here how this equation will be modified, how the Kachbeck equation will be modified.
N minus NR minus 1.
Very good. So in this case, you have to simply subtract one link from the entire mechanism. Very easy, right? Because one link is extra. It is not going any extra constraint in the mechanism, right? So it will be simply 3 n minus nr minus 1 minus 2j minus h minus fr, right? Now, in a similar way, we have something which we call as redundant kinematic pair. This is also very important. So this is the last exception which I am going to discuss, right? So now redundant kinematic pair. So what is this? So similar to link, we can define this redundant kinematic pair also. So we can say that kinematic pairs similar to redundant link, these are also redundant kinematic pairs. So kinematic pairs which do not put any extra constraint in the mechanism. Very simple, right? So now let us try to understand this one through an example. So let us try to understand this through an example. So this notation which you are seeing here, this is denoting basically your prismatic pair, this notation, right? So usually the prismatic pair, it is denoted by these two lines. That means if you put any such kind of notation anywhere, so that means the two links which are located there, they are going to have a sliding motion with respect to each other. So let me make this more clear. So let me name this all links. This is link 1, 2, 3, and you can call this link as 4. This is your link 5. So there are 3 prismatic pairs basically. One prismatic pair here, then one P here, one P. Okay. So now let me just tell me, can you see any redundant kinematic pair, or in simple words, can you see any kinematic pair here, the presence of which it is not going to affect the mechanism in any way, right? So even if you take that prismatic pair, the motion of the other links, that is not going to change. So can you recognize any kinematic pair here? So just tell me by name, like between which two links, link 4 and 5, or between link 1, 2, 3 and 4. So something like that. So just refer to me in that way. So can you just tell me, can any guesses? So let us say, if I remove this kinematic pair, so definitely it is going to affect the motion of mechanism. If I remove this kinematic pair, then will it affect the motion of mechanism? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Definitely it is going to affect the motion of mechanism. So let us say if I remove this kinematic pair, this revolute pair, then will it affect the motion of mechanism?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now let us come to this. Let us remove this one. So will it affect the motion of links, the other links? If I remove this kinematic pair, just think very carefully. See, very important thing. The link 4, it will have a sliding motion with respect to link 1. Link 5, it is also going to have a sliding motion with respect to link 1, right? So basically, link 5 and link 4, they are guided by these two prismatic pairs, correct? Very easy to say that link 4, link 5, they are guided by these two prismatic pairs. So even if you remove this prismatic pair, so will the motion of mechanism will be other links will be affected?
No, sir.
No, right? Because the already two prismatic pairs are there to take care of the motion of links 4 and 5. So even if you remove this prismatic pair, the motion of other links, it will remain unchanged, right? So now let me write down here that prismatic pairs between 4 and 5 can be removed, right? So motion, relative motion between 4 and 5 is determined by the prismatic pair P pair between 4 and 1 and 5 and 1, right? So now this prismatic pair is referred to as redundant prismatic pair. So again, if you take all, let's say like and take the Kirchhoff criteria and calculate the degree of freedom of this all this mechanism, you will get a different value, right? But then again you need to modify the Kirchhoff equation. So let me call it here that let's say JR is number of redundant So JR is equal to number of redundant kinematic pairs. Then what will be the equation? 3n minus nr minus 1 minus 2 minus h to j, right? Minus h minus fr. So just tell me how this equation will be modified.
J minus JR, sir.
minus JR.
So very easy. So you have to simply put j minus jr because you are now going to remove one extra degree of freedom, right? So now this will be your final equation, right? So this is the final equation for effective degrees of freedom, considering the exceptions also, right? So we have considered all the exceptional cases in this equation, right? So till now, any doubt till this point? Any doubt in what we have discussed till this point?
No, sir.
Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. So now let us solve some problems. Let us try to solve some problems. So let us start with some easy problems. Then we will be going to some typical ones. But first, let's start with some easy ones. Okay, so let us take this example. So the goal is to find the degree of freedom. Right? So let me show you this thing, and then maybe like we will be solving for the next one yourself. So let me just show you how to calculate the degree of freedom of this mechanism. Right. So first of all, what we have to do, we have to count the number of links. So the number of links, they are already mentioned there. That is, you can see here. This is your ternary link. All these are ternary link. This one, this one, this one, this one, and the remaining one are binary links. So the number of links are, you will be counting this ternary link as one link, right? So 1, then 2. So that the number of links, they are already mentioned. You can easily count. So 1, 2, then 3, then this is 4, and this is 5. So see, when such a problem is there, then it's better to count ternary links first, or you can say to count the higher order links first, right? So you can name the higher order, that is the ternary links in this case first, then you go for the binary links, right? Then go to binary links. So because just to avoid any confusion, so once you practice this one, then you can do whatever you wish, but initially, just to avoid any confusion, take the ternary links or higher order links, name them first, then go to the binary link. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ternary links we name, then move to, let's say, binary links, that is 6, 7, 8, right? So the total number of links in this mechanism is n is equal to 8. Now, what are the total number of kinematic pairs here? So let us now calculate the total number of kinematic pairs, right? So now J is equal to, now very important thing, here you have to be very carefully, because even an expert like me, like I'm teaching this subject many a times, but still I commit this mistake, right? So while counting the number of kinematic pairs, you should be very careful, right? So let me tell you, like, how are you going to do this? So just when you start counting kinematic pair, just mention like this, 1R, 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 where the revolute pairs, or let's say the kinematic pairs, are simple, right? So here, if you observe, between link and 1, 2, between link 1 and link 8, this pair is a simple pair, right? So 1R, that means one revolute pair. Here also 1R, correct? Here also, if you observe, so first of all, just count the number of pairs, simple pairs, that allow only 1 degree of freedom, right? So here also 1R, 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 correct? Here also, if you observe, one revolute pair, 1R, here also 1R, here also 1R, then there is one revolute pair between these two, 1R, and there is one revolute pair between these two, right? Now, just tell me here, this is the case of a compound hinge, if you remember, or a compound joint. So just tell me, how many revolute pairs shall I count here? So if you observe this one very carefully, so here 3 links are connected. So how many links are connected here? 3. Which one? 6, 7, and this ternary link 2. So 3 links are connected at this point. So just tell me, shall I count it as 1 degree of freedom or 2 degrees of freedom? Or sorry, shall I count it as 1 revolute pair or 2 revolute pair? So if you remember, in the last session, I told you that if you have a ternary joint, this is basically a ternary joint, right? So one ternary joint, it is equal to 2 binary joints, or you can say one ternary joint is equal to 2 simple revolute pairs, right? So here you should count it as 2R. See, here some different notation in this question is provided, so you can easily spot that this is a compound hinge. But let's say even if a single dot is provided here, many times it happens that single dot is provided, like this one, right? So then you have to identify that, okay, at this point 3 links are connected, and one ternary joint is, or let's say one ternary joint is equal to 2 simple revolute pairs. So you have to count it as 2 revolute pairs. So now here you are going to mention it as 2R, correct? So now just simply count the number of revolute pairs, right? So when you start counting, just remember that you just tick mark, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? So all are done. Then 9 to 11. So J is equal to, in this case, 11. Now higher pair, any higher pair? No. So it is simply 3, 8 minus 1 minus 2 J, right? So F will be equal to simply 21 minus 8. So you see the degree of freedom of this mechanism is -1. So that is generally sometimes called as superstructure, right? Okay, so is this clear? How are you going to calculate the degree of mechanism? Any doubt here?
Sir, I have a doubt.
Yeah, tell me.
Uh,
Where?
So sir, here four links are not connected. You mentioned that there are three links, but
Three
I
links
think
are
sir, four.
connected. Link 6, 7 and link 2. Three links are connected. 6, 7, this one.
But sir, there is also one link, sir, where 1R is connected to this ternary link, sir.
Which one?
Sir, how can I type?
Can you name the link? Link number.
Sir. Uh, Sir, below 7R, there is one link which is connected to 2R. Uh, sir, please your move. Sir,
So
below that, 1R you
below
have written.
7 here.
Sir, this one. This link is also, sir, connected to this. Here is a point 1R and that is connected to 2R.
No. See, here all these pairs are simple kinematic pairs. So if you let's say talk of this, so link 3 and link 4, there are only two links, right?
Hmm.
And if you talk of this, so
Yes.
link 2 and link 3, there are only two links which are connected at these 2 points, right? So everywhere in the mechanism, only two links are connected if you observe very carefully. But this is the only pair where three links are connected. So here if you observe link 6, link 7, link 2, three links are connected at this point. So that's why we are taking it as a ternary joint, because three links are connected. And one ternary joint, it will be equivalent to two simple revolute pairs. So now it is clear.
Yes, sir. It's clear. Thank you.
If you take this, only 3, 4 are connected, right? So see, this entire link, ternary link, it will be modeled as a single link. Just remember this, never get confused into this, right? So it will become more clear. Let us solve more examples. Let us solve this one, right?
Sir,
Okay, so in this case,
hello.
sir.
Sir, I have a
Okay.
doubt.
Yeah. Ask.
Sir, in the previous question, you have written the degree of freedom is -1 and you have written superstructure.
Right.
So what do you mean by that?
Basically, see, the degree of freedom is 0. Then we know that this mechanism is not going to move in any way, right? So the negative degrees of freedom, basically that simply means that it will remain a structure only, right? So generally we gave it a terminology. We just, to make the distinction between, let's say, negative degrees of freedom and 0 degrees of freedom, we just refer to it as superstructure. Otherwise, it is simply that, okay, there will be no relative motion between the links. The simple physical meaning is this one, right?
Okay, sir.
So generally, like I told you this thing, so you can do some research on this, but I don't want to go into like too much depth. For now, this is simple that, okay, the degrees of freedom, just to differentiate between, let's say, like structure and the negative degrees of freedom, they refer to as superstructure. So the physical meaning is same. There is no relative motion between the links, right? So now let us solve this one. Now here, if you observe, how many links are there? So again, the counting is already there. So now again, if you observe here, link 1, then link 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Then 9, 10, 11, right? So here, basically, he has gone in a reverse way. He has first counted the binary links, then he counted the ternary links. So this is your wish, whatever you wish to do. So the ultimate thing is that you have to simply count the number of links. So n is equal to 11. Now just tell me J. So just see this diagram and try to tell me what are the number of simple pairs or simple revolute pairs into this one. So just take some time and try to calculate it yourself. Then we will move forward.
Nine.
So J is equal to here 9.
Means
only the 10.
simple one. It will be 13 total.
Okay, so let me again start with this. Okay, so here, if you observe, this is 1R, this is 1R, right? Very obvious. So this is 1 or 2. Just tell me, 1R or 2R?
1 hour.
What? 1R. See, two links are connected only, 2 and 9. Then here also only two links are connected, that is 10 and 2, again 1 hour. Okay, so first let us name the number of let's say in a simple pairs. So now here again two links are connected, this is also 1 hour. Here also 6 and 11 are connected, 1 hour. Then 7, 11 only two links are there, right, 1 hour. Right, now here also only 3 and 10, here also only 3 and 5, sorry 3 and 9, right? So this is also 1 hour. Okay, so just tell me here very carefully, right? Here how many links are connected? Link 7, link
three.
4, and then link 10. So shall I write it 2 hour or 1 hour here?
2 hour.
2 hour.
2 hour.
2 hour. Right. In a similar way, here how many links are connected? Link 6, link 4, and link 5. So shall I write down here 1 hour or 2 hour?
2 hour.
2 hour.
Okay, and always remember, let's say if I connect one more link here, then what will I write down? So this is just an assumption. So let me connect one more link here. Right. So what shall I write down here? 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour. So I just connected one more link. So this is just an assumption. So in that case, it will be 3 hour. Yes, because now it is a quaternary joint. So a quaternary joint, it will be equivalent to 3 simple joints, right? So just try to remember this thing, right? Now, have I done any mistake here? So one mistake I can see here. So just tell me carefully.
Sir,
Where is that mistake?
at the intersection of 1, 5 and 9, there will be 2 hours.
Very good. Very good. So here also, if you observe, 3 links are connected, 1, 5, and 9. So this should also be 2 hour. Right. Now you simply count it. Right. So while counting, be very careful. Just put a tick mark. Otherwise, sometimes it happens. People count it again and again. Right. So the same kinematic pair they count again and again, and that it somewhere like creates let's say like mistakes in the numerical values. Right. So just put a tick mark here. So let me count here. So 1 hour, 2 hour, 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 9, then 11, and 12, then 13, then 14. Now all the kinematic pairs, they are tick marked. So all have been identified. So J is simply equal to 14. So now the degree of freedom of this mechanism F is equal to 3, 11 minus 1 minus 2 into 14. So F is equal to 2. So is it clear to all of you? Any doubt into this? Any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay. So now see here I am uploading this PPT. So here some other diagrams are also there, right? So try to calculate the degree of freedom for all these mechanisms, right? So yourself try to identify and calculate the degree of freedom of this mechanism. Then we will be discussing like in the next session. So what values have you observed? I will tell you all this, but then let's have a like simple try yourself. And in the next session, we will discuss like what answers you got and what. And here I have put some realistic examples as well, right? So I will be discussing a little bit into this as well. Right? Okay, so for now today, I think this much is sufficient. Okay. So do you guys enjoying the course or not? Means are you getting everything or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So fine, then let me end this meeting, right? Then we will be meeting in the next session. Fine. Okay. Thank you. Thank you all of you.
Thank